Well, here we are, Moto Dad Podcast. Episode, I've lost count. But we've done it. We've officially kicked off Tour 953 or 953 Tour. Or what, we haven't decided what to call this yet. But man, we hooked up with Verb Moto, and we hooked up with GoPro. Thank you, GoPro. And we're just out traveling the country. Complete transparency. We were at a point where our family was like, "Hey, we want to go see what's out there, man." We just wanted to check out, man. Like, it's always been my dream to kind of go across the country with my kids, check out cool stuff, do cool things, both dirt bike related and non-dirt bike related. So we've kicked this thing off. We went to regionals. We raced some dirt bikes. We got our butts handed to us. And then we came right to Arkansas. And now I'm sitting in the race shop of Brandon and Barrett Shaw. Man, I got a Loretta's bike sitting over my head right now. We are maybe 3.5, 4 hours away from Loretta Lynn's ranch. It's hot. I'm sweating. But we're in a race shop where we're sitting with a Loretta's bike, man, and it just feels to me like the perfect setting to have some Moto Dad talk. So let me introduce you guys to a man that I just met today. That's how the world of motocross works. I just met this guy, Brandon Shaw. Welcome to the Moto Dad Podcast. Let's crack 'em.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
Moto Dads, we drink beer and we talk about dirt bikes. So, man, let's kick this thing off. Let's talk. I mean, we had an awesome day. We showed up here at your house at maybe noon. Jumped a quick shower, loaded the bikes up.
Yeah.
Where'd you take us, man? It feels like a tornado.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of rain come through, so the local track's pretty wet. So we improvised, and a local bike shop had a little flat track jam session, I guess you want to call it that. So went out there and had TJ show us how to go around the flat track the fast way on an e-bike, and then we did that for a few hours and went to I guess it was an abandoned golf course.
Golf course. We're right in the middle of the city.
Yeah,
man.
in the middle of Little Rock, basically. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Who hasn't wanted to rip a bike around a golf course?
Man, that was what was so cool is, like, our kids are out there riding an abandoned golf course on dirt bikes. And, like, every time that I've ever seen a golf course, I'm like, man, I want to go ride a dirt bike on that. And man, our 7-year-old kids got to do that today.
Yeah, they did. They was out there ripping it up, sending it off of stuff, making tabletops and
man, tabletops out of tee boxes.
Yeah,
sure. Honestly, every single golfer out there probably would cringe if they saw the footage of what these kids did today. About like an amazing. It looked like an amazing golf course,
Yeah, it was at one point. But yeah, got out there on some more old greens and we're just ripping it up, but having a good time and being able to get out there and just ride with your buddy, So that was cool. It's like, it's like they were old friends, just out there ripping it.
And that's such a cool aspect of this sport. These kids they live a different life. Even if you are a, let's say, kind of amateur level, weekend warrior motocross kid, right? These kids are different. Mm-hmm. They're not your run of the mill, I am, going to school every day, I play like a school sport, and then maybe have a sleepover once a year. That's not these kids. That's not what they do or who they are. What is it like to you when you see Barrett meet a kid like TJ and they just hit it off? Like, because we have that everywhere we go.
Yeah, that just kind of speaks to the sport, man, and what these kids deal with every time they go and ride. And just the different environments they're always in. They're not afraid of new things coming at them. Yeah. They're not really, worried about, interacting with people. And they know that if you're on a dirt bike, well, essentially, to some level, you're my friend. That's just kind of how they approach each other.
I think, and I had I had it kind of explained to me, pretty well by somebody a long time ago where, like, going into business situations with people, like, there are going to be people that you meet in life that are very successful in a certain way, right? But, for me, like in business, when I'm sitting at a conference table, next to a couple of guys, I can look at them and I can honestly say, dude, I can kick this dude's ass on the
yeah, for sure.
like, and that gives you this level of, like, confidence that, like, this dude would crumble. Like, if this guy, that is talking down to me or trying to negotiate with me on business or in any way, shape, or form in life, like, man, you have no idea. Like, do you think this sport sets these kids up with that attitude?
I believe it does. Like, from an early age, 4.
You got a sheriff stopping by right now, by the way.
6,
Is he friend? Is this a sheriff friend?
I don't know.
He's not happy about our camper in the road.
Oh, he'll be all right.
We parked our camper, like, literally in the middle of this neighborhood.
Live
We're in
action.
trouble. We might have to pause this. Hold on. We might have to pause this. All right.
We're fugitives from justice.
So, sorry about the delay. Showed up at Brandon's house and we parked in the road because, like, it just rained here. It, like, deluge rained, so I was nervous to park on his lawn. So parked me in the road. All good. We got all set up. Life is good. We go riding. We come back. We do dinner. All that. Then we're sitting here doing the interview, and right outside the race shop, maybe 50 yards is the road. Cops show up. We got 2 sheriffs and a state trooper.
Yeah, man, this is
So we put down our beers.
Yeah.
And we go explain to them the situation, and they weren't having it. So we just had to move. We just had to move the trailer. But
Yep.
cheers. Hey.
Yeah, man. Hey, is that I
You
guess
got
that's
it.
a Moto Dad podcast first.
That's a Moto Dad podcast
Okay.
first.
Right
I've
here.
never had police show up on set.
Yeah.
That was good.
right here in Arkansas. Yeah.
Brandon's neighbor let us park in his driveway, which is awesome. So we're looking good right now, man.
Shout out Dwight.
Yeah, man, we're all set up. Like, we're back to normal.
And actually, the view's probably better.
The view's better. I'm more excited about that. I'm going to sleep with the shade up now because I can see a little bit more of the yard.
Yeah.
I got a little bit more foliage.
Green
kinda.
space.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Green space.
So, man, what were we talking about?
I don't know. Probably involve some kids out there perusing an old golf course.
We got them yelling back there. So let's do this, man. What I'm probably going to do, too, is I'm probably going to find something to set the mic on so it's closer to you. Because you got that little bit of southern, like
Hard to understand what I'm
relaxed-
saying.
like relaxed talk.
Dude, that's
Look at
the
this.
upside. That's
Man, we don't mess
It's almost
around.
like you've done
Watch
this
this
before.
Watch this. Look at this. Look at that.
Man, you don't
Now
play.
you're mic'd up.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's start with this, man, because we haven't done a traditional Moto Dad podcast in a long time,
Okay.
and we spent some time in the truck today. So tell me, how'd you get into this? Because you got a boy right now that has raced Lorettas, got the bike behind me, we got the proof.
Yep.
You got a boy that has a really cool style on a dirt bike, is a really overall great rider, but also you're sitting next to your dirt bike right now that has white plates on it.
Yeah.
So
And-
where'd this come from, man?
Well, so it's just a 2013 Suzuki, man. So you can see where all of our efforts go into is him. So it's fun for me to get out there and spin laps with him every chance that I can, which isn't as often, as I would like. But yeah, it's fun to get out there with him. Usually, at the races, I mean, I would never have time between being stressed out worrying about him and working on bikes and
There's a
all
lot
that.
of guys out there that do it. There are a lot of moto
Yeah.
dads that have 2, even 3 kids that are racing. An example I have is Brashelia. You remember
Yeah,
Matt Brashelia?
yeah.
So his dad, they
Don,
used to come to the amateur nationals, and Don would race 2 classes.
Yeah.
Matt would race 3 or 4 classes. Man, that's a lot,
Yeah,
man.
shout out Jake Lowry. He does that,
Yep.
man, over there in Mississippi. And, man, I don't know how you do it.
We got a guy up north, Shane Kelleher, that
Mm-hmm.
does it. This big dude, he's just rugged, and both of his boys race. And man, during a race day, he's never at his trailer.
Yeah.
They're never there.
Yeah.
You know?
Always at the line or getting tires mounted or something. Yeah.
So where'd this come from, man? Did your dad
Yeah.
get you into this? How'd you start riding dirt bikes?
So my dad, he raced a little bit, you know, in the 70s. I guess his parents weren't really in the position to, you know, let him kind of race like he would have wanted to. But I remember growing up, and all I wanted was a KX60. And I remember asking my dad and asking my grandparents every chance I could to please just take me to the dealership. I just want to look at this thing. Like, you'd have dreams about that bike, you know, knowing, you know, that's all you wanted was that bike. And I remember one day going up there, I don't know, I was 10 years old or so, and that thing was gone. And I was just like, oh, man, that's it. And then, you know, my dad, he, I guess, listened to me complain about a bike enough. Then I remember being in the 6th grade, so we were 11 in the 6th grade. My dad showing up with a brand new YZ80, a 94 YZ80.
So that's what you started on? You started on a YZ80?
Started on an 80. Yep, so I'd had like a DS80 little trail bike before that I rode around the yard. But yeah, I got a brand new YZ80 and just thrashed that thing, learning how to ride, and got out there and got after it. Man.
You know, what does that make you kind of think when you see these moto dads or these parents, these families that spend so much effort for their kids to do well on a 50? Are we, because I do the same thing, man. I'm guilty of it. I'm like, oh, it's our last year on P-dubs. We got to do it, right? But, like, does that mean a damn thing?
Well, you know, me and my dad and me and some other dads have talked about it, and it's like, I don't know what the heck Eli Tomac did on a PW50. Like, maybe some other people do. I don't know. And I'm not saying that, you know, like, these kids that are, you know, winning Lorettas and stuff on P-dubs aren't going to be the next grade, but they very well may be. But, you know, it's just right now my focus has been on, you know, a lot of it's got to do with my work schedule and stuff, but just our focus is on kind of developing that love for dirt bikes and especially racing into Barrett, and him, you know, wanting to just on his own, like, I don't want to do anything but ride this dirt bike because it's fun. Like, when I go, I have a good time. I'm riding with my buddy, and just that wanting to be your focus, because if you truly love something and that's all you think about, then that's all you think about. That's all you want to do. You know, kind of that. I don't want to say I want him to have this singular focus, but if that is your singular focus, you're going to get better.
Well, you see it in business, right? Because that's how I like to relate life, because I'm a business person. I feel like I've done okay in business. But the people that are really successful that I look up to in business have, or even motocross or sports, they have that singular vision. Because in business, if you've ever been kind of in that business world, if you know what I'm talking about, man, you get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah.
Like, you just get told no. You get, like, there's one depressing thing after the other, and you want to quit every single day, right?
Right.
But for business, if you want to make it, you have to have that singular focus. And, you know, you're right. You're correct in saying, you know, like with TJ, like, we bring him to all these races, right? And I want it. I want Loretta's. Dude, that kid doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't. Like, yeah, he wants to because he knows we want him to go there. But that's my focus, right? So how do you, if you don't have a kid that's sick in the head, like, there are kids out there that's it. That's all they want. Is they already have that singular focus. I'm jealous of that because that's really cool. But how do you instill that? And I think you're right in the fact where just let them be around dirt bikes. Let the kid dictate when it's time, you know?
Yeah. You know, you're kind of on the right track whenever you're, you know, always watching on YouTube is dirt bike stuff, or you're playing Supercross or whatever on PlayStation.
Yep.
And, you know, kind of developing that thing, just running around the room making dirt bike noises, and, you know.
And that's it. And Travis, my son, is obsessed with the sandbox and making dirt bike tracks. When he's playing his video games, he's obsessed with the fact that he battled all the way back from a crash. And I'm like, well, dude, hey, you know, you get to do that in real life. Like, I don't think they quite grasp the concept yet that this pretend world that they have, playing video games or playing with their toy dirt bikes, like, they get to do that in real life, you know?
Yeah, they're gnarly little guys, man. If you think about, like, I'll get out there, when I can and ride with him. I'm hitting those ruts that he's hitting on a 10 and 12-inch front wheel, and I'm like, how could I ever be frustrated with him, because this is hard to meet, and
dude, have you ever watched the Southwick National?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So Travis did his area qualifier at Southwick this year, and on a 10-inch wheel, he went out and raced every single moto. I think he left with 2 seconds and a third. Buckman beat him, and Pearson beat him.
Mm-hmm.
They're 2 national riders that race around the country. And when we left there, I was so proud that he just went around that track on a 10-inch tire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gnarly.
We did it. We had it happen at the regional last year where there was a section at Pleasure Valley where we couldn't see. And they go over this hill. And then, me and my wife were walking the track. It was about this hour. The sun was going down. We're kind of going out, and we walked this little part of the track. And we looked at the track over this hill, and it was just these gnarly braking bump ruts. And my wife looked at me and she says, I do not believe you that our son went through that.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. And I said, well, he did. We didn't get to watch it, but he went through it.
It's wild, man. Yeah, for sure. And you see, Travis is a great little rider. He's out there. TJ's out there getting it, on the oval out there today, and he's got great, technique, great speed going into the corners, and that's just going to continue to develop. Yeah, he's a neat little dude to watch for sure.
Thank you.
Watch some of these other kids. Beckham Smith and Anderson Waldell, those dudes, and it's like, that's a different level. Like,
dude,
how do you do this?
Waldell has this crazy. I haven't gotten to watch a lot of Beckham. We're going to Beckham's house in a couple of days, so I'm really excited about that. But Waldell is one of those riders that I've keyed into that has this crazy cool style. Mm-hmm. And I can't put my finger on it yet. It's very unique and very fun to watch. Yeah. A lot of these kids have these cool styles. And I'll tell you what right now, that little dude swimming in the swimming pool back there, Barrett has got a really cool style, man. We got to go out to that golf course today, that old golf course, and they got to rip. And I saw some cool style points from him, man, where you can just see the comfort level with his dirt bike, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, he it's fun to get out there and ride with him and watch him ride. And, we want to get to where we're doing better at these bigger races. That just comes from time on the bike.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just, I think his issue is he doesn't sometimes think he belongs there, and
100%.
And when you go to those 50 open classes and you make it straight through without having to go to a qualifier or something, I'm like, dude, we celebrate that. Like, that's a big deal, man. Like, that's awesome. You got 2 more years in this class, and it's just like,
and man, and if they only knew, right, like, it, because you tell them, right, you have the talent to go faster, you have the technique to go faster. If they only trusted themselves, and that only comes from time. That only comes from time on the bike, from time in those scenarios. Trust me, man, every time we've gone to a regional or an amateur national like Minios, we knew we weren't going there for top 20. I knew that. But I wanted him to just be there. Because one day, if he wants it, we can say, dude, you've been here. You've been... the regional, I couldn't have been more happy last weekend, where Travis was on the line and he was just cool as a cucumber. Man, we're in a scenario with 40 other racers that just want to kill the kid, right? They don't care.
Yeah.
And TJ's just smiling. Yeah, it's good. Cool. Got ripped an awesome start that moto, and then had a crash, and that's where it kind of went downhill, right? So it's the confidence is everything.
Does TJ ever get nervous, or can you tell if he's nervous, or does he just get quiet, like before the gate drop, like when you guys are in staging?
Where things started to go downhill was when he did have a crash and when he did get stuck in the ruts a couple of times, and it destroyed his confidence, and then you can see it. You can see him very lethargic in staging. You can see him very just kind of docile. You can see him indecisive about the gate pick that I made. right?
Yeah.
No, I wanted to go inside the box.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to go outside the box. And that's where with a kid, man, it's the roll of the dice, right? What 7-year-old's going to show up today?
Yeah. Yeah, if you can nail that down, then you've done something.
Oh, man, then we figured it out. I'm Dr. Phil, you know?
For sure.
So, man, you started on an 80.
Yeah.
So, okay, with your dad,
Mm-hmm.
you got into racing. Tell me about racing with your dad. Tell me about coming up. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so primarily, just local stuff. We go down to Texas every now and again, try to venture over there to Oklahoma. And, I got to race with some fast kids, but, my time racing was probably 5 or 6 years. I didn't really get to race that long. But, I knew that once I got to it, that I loved it, and it's something I constantly thought about. Getting on to 125s was great. Like, I had good bikes. We just didn't have, my dad's job. He was an engineer for the railroad, on call 24/7, 365. I didn't really have that, opportunity to kind of go whenever we wanted, but my dad would do everything to make that possible. If I wanted to go somewhere, we'd do everything to make it happen.
Yeah.
My dad taught me how to, change a top end in that YZ80 in the garage. And, that's stuff that, I want to teach him. Like, literally, I've got
Did you teach him how to rebuild the top end in the e-bike yet?
Yeah. That's what we need to get on next. But, yeah, I've got, still quarter-inch drive sockets and ratchets from me and my dad after we got that 80, going to Walmart, picking out this Craftsman tool set. I still got those, in my toolbox. So, that's stuff that, I've literally, like, handed him an 8mm socket that, me and my dad had got. So just, passing that stuff down, man. And that means something to me. My dad, he's retired now. He's really involved with Barrett's racing and his riding. He gets pretty amped up about his racing,
So was your dad kind of a hard ass when you were racing? Because I'll tell you right now, full transparency, my dad was a hard ass.
Yeah.
It was all or nothing. It was go out there, and there weren't many weekends that we had that were laid back and really fun.
Yeah.
It was always very focused. It was always very get your head in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a race to win.
That's very much like my dad. Yeah, he was, no business. Yeah, we're going to have fun, but nothing's more fun than winning. Nothing's more fun than kicking ass. So that was kind of my dad's mentality. And it's like, I probably put a little too much pressure on myself and would make mistakes and ride really tight and wonder, am I riding hard? Am I where I need to be? And I would have that in my head more so than just getting out there, right? But on those days where I would just, like if your dad is hard on you and you come off and you rode great, then your dad's pumped, and he's like, hey man, I'm not going to tell you did a great job if you didn't. Like, you're going to have to earn it. I'm probably not that much with Barrett. I'm a little softer on him, but I think that kind of attitude, that hard-nosed, hardcore attitude is what put me in the mindset to get where I am, and kind of, what I've done and kind of where I'm at, with him, that I don't care how much I have to work. Like, if he wants to go ride, we're going to go ride. Like, if something has to be done, I get through work and come home, work on bikes, it's not a problem. Going to get it done. So, that come from that mentality.
Yeah. And it was a different time back then, right?
Yeah.
Like today, I hate to say it about our generation, but our generation is almost looked at by our parents as, a little bit of the participation award generation, where our kid goes out and let's say they have a shit moto,
Mm-hmm.
they come in and we're like, look, dude, good job. Like, to them, it's like, well, what are you teaching that kid? Because he didn't earn it. He didn't earn the good job. Well, for me, yeah, he did. Like, he just went and worked his butt off. I can tell when he doesn't try, and he comes in and I tell him. There's a time and a place, I think. Like,
sure.
We were at the regional last weekend. There's this little dude from back home in Maine that's trying to make it to Loretta's. He was sitting in a better position than TJ was going into the last moto, the PW race. And I saw his dad out there, and he was a few spots ahead of TJ, and he was going, and I knew that if he got a couple of riders, he was going to Loretta's, right?
Right.
So his dad's standing there, and, I said, hey, man, like, your kid's going to make it if he passes those 2 kids. He's like, no, I've done the math, he ain't going to make it. And I said, look, dude, I promise you, he needs to pass those kids. Go tell him to pass those kids. And he literally looked at me and he goes, dude, I'm not going to go yell at my kid. And I looked at him and I said, bud, you're this close to Loretta's. Get your ass on that fence, make eye contact with him, and make him go. And he did, and the kid passed 2, 3 kids, I think.
Made it happen.
Got a ticket. Like, there's a time and a place, right? Because this is high anxiety. It's you can't explain it. And the kids, like Travis, when I yell at him at a track, when I yell at him in the pits, we have a bond of he knows that it's love, right? He knows it's from a place of like, dude, I can't believe you just did that. You know, like, I can't believe, because what happened was at the race, he fell over and he laid on the track. We don't do that.
Right.
Unless you're going to the hospital, you don't do that.
Yeah.
So when we got back to the toy hauler, I let him have it. Like, dude, you don't do that. But he was okay when it was done. He was like, yes, I understand. That's not okay. And I was pretty disappointed in him because he had the whole fence cheering for him when he stood up.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on, bud.
Yeah.
Like, come on. No. Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, get up.
But there's a time. I think there's a time and a place. And then there's also times with him where, you know, I feel like I want to give it to him, but then I think, and I'm like, no, man, he's doing a lot better than I ever did, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Barrett's already raced at more places and been to bigger races than I ever went to.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of, you know, putting him in those situations. And we've taken a lot of licks. We're going to take a whole bunch more. But, you know, we drop him in there and, you know, spring a ding, take him everywhere. And, you know, you just got to go in there and kind of get worked over.
It's opportunity, right?
Yeah.
You're just giving them opportunities. There's no expectations. When we take, like, we're taking Travis to Mammoth. We're going to be in Mammoth in a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
There's no expectation. It's just an opportunity. Here's a really cool opportunity to ride a really awesome track.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling it, go do your thing.
Let it rip.
You know?
Yeah.
Let it rip, tater chip. Is that it?
That's it. Let it rip, tater chip. But we always want him to watch, you know, these faster kids and like, hey, what can you pick up? Like, you can do this. Like, you know, it's not Gavin McCoy right now, but we can watch and see, hey, dude, like, let's see what he's doing. You know, you got the same bike. Let's see what we can do. And, you know, he'll get to where he watches these, you know, these riders and, you know, wants to see, you know, if he can kind of emulate what they're doing.
It's funny because, like, even Pleasure Valley, there was a section, and my wife, after practice, she talks to TJ, and she goes, dude, you have got, one of the e-bikes is charged.
You got a fully charged e-bike.
You've got to pin it up that jump. She goes, you have got to get on the gas. You're not doing it. And then that night, we went and walked the track, and my wife looked at the jump, and she goes, whoops. She looks at me and she goes, I shouldn't have told him. Like, it's straight up. And I'm like, hey, that's how this sport is. Like, you think, just get on it. Go over that jump. Hit that double. Go into those ruts and rail those ruts. Go down that hill. And it's not, man. It is not. Even for a grown adult like me, like, I love rough tracks. Some of these tracks I look at, we were on the gate. We were in staging, and there was a Moto dad standing next to me. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I go, dude, I'm so glad I'm not putting goggles on right now. And he goes, oh, you're telling me, dude.
So I've kind of had this theory, like, you know, all Moto dads, we've all kind of got this somewhat like-minded mentality, right? You know, it may ebb and flow a little bit, but I think, like, from what I've seen, it's kind of the toughness of your rider. It kind of comes from the mom. That's kind of going to be what they kind of go down to. Like, is my dad's not going to coddle me? Is my mom going to coddle me? Well, I'll be all right. But if your mom is pretty gnarly, like taking you to the line, you know, and packing your gate and doing all that, you don't really have any lower level to fault. Like, you're going to rise to the occasion. So, like, if your mom ain't going to let you slack, your dad ain't going to let you slack, you got to go, you know?
Man, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it.
I've had my wife, Alicia, look at me when we're walking back to the toy hauler, and she's looked at me and said, stay out of the toy hauler. I've got it. I'm like, ooh, Jesus. Okay. That, you know, look at Carmichael and his mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, like, man, that's cool. That's cool to hear. So, all right, you did some racing.
Yeah.
Okay, are those white plates legit?
No, man.
Okay, you're not
just,
an A rider.
No. Those
So
are just,
can I hang with you? You think I can hang with you?
Dude, probably smoke me.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, that's
We're
it.
better now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I was gonna leave tonight.
I'm no A rider.
So how'd you get out of racing? Like, what happened? Why'd you stop racing?
Man, just you get 16, 17 years old, and it's I want a truck.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a truck, you got to pay for it.
Yep.
You got to work. So, school, work, and that's kind of where it ends up. And that sort of, man, I don't want to be stressed out on the weekends going to the race. I want to go hang with my buddies.
I've had somebody tell me, actually, they said it on a podcast, and I took the clip from it, where he said this is one of the only sports where every weekend you're testing yourself, mentally and physically. That's what you're doing. You're testing yourself. So when you become a vet rider, when you become a rider past your youth, that's all you're doing. You're testing yourself every single weekend. And our kids don't look at it that way right now, but I think that's part of it. This is a test for them every single weekend mentally. Can you persevere? Can you go out there and do this thing?
Yep. And when our boys get a little older than what they are, you get to that 65, 85 becomes real. And it's like, hey, at that point, if you want to be like if you look at like Cade Johnson or, Cade Nugget, like those kids, they like to suffer.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, hey, I don't mind suffering. I want to do it because I want to win. And I'm hoping one day we kind of flip that switch of, I'm not all right with just being out here riding and having fun. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to get beat. Like, I don't know. Like, you can't drill that into them. They just come to that realization. And that's going to be there. It's not. At least that's what I'm thinking.
So let's talk about Barrett.
Yeah.
How did it start with this little dude? Who's not so little anymore. He's 7 years old, but he's a foot taller than my boy.
Yeah, he's tall. So my wife's tall. I'm obviously not tall. Like, I'm super short. But yeah, Barrett's tall. Got good form on the bike. He got a P-dub. Well, that P-dub when he was 3. So we got that, and he didn't like it so much because it made noise.
Yeah.
It just freaked him out. And
Yep.
then we once we got him actually riding, he was doing good. I was like, man, he could be a good little rider.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go race? And he was like, yeah. So we go to an arena cross, Monroe, Louisiana, and we go down there. That would have been, 2019, I guess. And so we go down there, and I'm pushing him up to the line, and he's confident at that point. And we start getting out there, and I'm like, the bike's not going. What's going on? I was, hey, buddy, you got to let go of the brakes.
Yeah.
It's hard to push. And he's like, nope, nope, he's not doing it. And so, yeah, he didn't end up racing that night. But we waited. I was pretty disappointed, but whatever. We waited another 6 months, maybe a year later, and got him out there to a local track and got him out there and raced, did good, had a great time, and been doing it ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the first
took that
one was
with me.
just, I'm out.
Yeah, he
I'm
was
out.
I ain't having this.
Yeah.
No, can do.
We never had that with Travis. Travis, his first race was 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The first jump he ever went over, it was like a peak double, and he just went straight to the nose and cartwheeled, and it was just shocking. But he got back up and he raced.
Yeah.
And since then, he's always been very relaxed at races, and we're very lucky for that. Man, we put him into the deep end early, where just like you said, we threw him in the deep end, man. Like we brought him to big races quick. We brought him to arena crosses. We brought him to, regionals. We brought him to all these big races when he was a little dude. And I think it kind of helped calm him down at those big races, Yeah. So you got a little dude that finally racing on his P-dub. What in the world gets you thinking, hey, let's go to Loretta's?
So I guess his first race was like November of 20 at a local track, and then so that roll around to that January 4th or so of 2021 was the first round at Freestone, I believe it was, at the Texas Winter Series. And I was like, all right, dude, here's your second or third race. Let's go race Freestone.
Quick, yeah.
And so we hit all of those and did good and just kind of hit spring-a-ding. And at one point in time, a boy was on the P-Dub his first year, been racing, 6 or 8 months at that point in time, inside of the top 10 at spring-a-ding. And I'm like, we've got a racer, you know?
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, well, we'll see what we can do, you know? So that was his first, legit year racing. And then ended up, going to the qualifiers and got picked up as an alternate for Loretta's and went there and had a great time. Didn't have, the greatest results, but
I love that photo of
it.
him. I love that photo of him at Loretta's. He's tall. He's just leaning off the side of the bike, and he's looking like he's just loving it, man.
Yeah.
And it's at Loretta's, it's the experience. I've been quite a few times. I've never gotten to go with my son. I hope I get the chance one day, but it's just that experience. That's a cool story. And now here you are. So tell me, what's been the progression from the PETA? But, you've got him on an e-bike. You've got him, riding the Cobra Senior. Obviously didn't jive too well with the Junior just because, man, they're just crappy bikes.
They're just a funky little setup. I mean, fast bike. If you got a short 4 to 6 rider, I mean, dude, it's got great suspension and it is a little rocket ship. But just the geometry of that thing, and it's so short. Maybe I'm a soft moto dad, but I was like, man, I don't want my kid to get hurt. These things, Landon Kahn, that little dude will get out there and rail, or Shannon Tarnout will rail a Junior, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know, but
and it's like TJ on his 4 to 6. He doesn't look comfortable hitting these big jumps.
Yeah.
So why am I gonna make him go do that when it scares me? Because it does. It scares me. I'm like, oh man, why don't you just keep that on the ground and focus on your turns?
Yeah, I mean he's tall. He's starting to look tall on an e-bike. We got risers coming, but he's AMA 6 still, and
let's run it,
dude. Let's go for it. But yeah, he could technically still be on a P-Dub, but I mean the boy's knees are above the handlebars, so I'm not going to do that.
Oh man, throw him on that thing just for one more year.
Yeah, I don't think it would pull him up some of the hills. Yeah, but he's skinny, just tall, all legs. But yeah, man, I mean the Loretta's deal, having a couple really good starts, and I was so proud of him battling through there, and just bike died a couple times. I don't know if that was maybe that thumb killed it, hit that kill switch a couple times or whatever. But I know a couple times, the sand section, he was flipping through there, come over looking like a sugar cookie. But he didn't quit. I think he was a little upset with himself. But I was just in the moment, wanting to have a good time with him because I didn't know if we would ever go back.
What's it like being at Loretta's as a dad?
It's fun. It's awesome. I couldn't imagine. There's a difference between hey, we made it as an officer, we're going to go experience it, versus, hey, we have put in, I would like to go there one day knowing that, hey, we have put in more work than anybody. Nobody outworked us, and it's not a question of do we belong here, but, hey, does anybody think that they can beat me? That one day, if we could ever get to that would be cool. But until then, man, we're just going to have fun, just enjoy it.
Hell yeah.
And really, the goal right now is just developing that love of, hey, I love moto, and this is what I want to do, and just that be what he wants to do, and loves it, has a good time. And I hope one day when I'm an old dude, I'm taking his kids to the races.
And that's what I want. I want a long life with my kid, riding dirt bikes, playing golf, doing all these things, right? I have friends that their dads are almost 70, maybe 70 years old, and they're all riding dirt bikes with their dad.
Yeah.
I want that with my kid. I would love that. But to get there, you got to be safe. You got to be passionate. Yeah. You got to have all these things, right? And trying to create the next Ricky Carmichael, I don't think is at least in our eyes the way to do it. There are a million ways to do this. Everybody's got their own way.
I mean, I definitely don't have all the answers. I'm learning. I'm still a new moto dad overall. But we focus a lot on technique for whatever reason. His technique is always been pretty good. If I could get that elbow from dropping whenever we got to get that regrip thing done. But aside from that, he looks good on a bike, you know. And I've always done the, I'm not going to push him to jump something normally. You know, the vast majority of time, like it's him, I'm never going to say, hey, you got to hit this, unless I know, hey, dude, like this is you got to hit this. Like it's, you know, something that I know he can do and he's done several times. But yeah, you can't get faster in plaster. Like you can't get faster sitting there in the cast. So, you know, you want
I like that.
You want to just keep him safe. You know, and you break too many things too many times, and it'll, I would imagine, get to that. I don't know if I want to do this. You know, so you just focus on those fundamentals. Try to make it a long career, I guess. If it is. You know?
Yeah, whatever the career is, you know, whether it's, you know, riding local races or, you know, because TJ said to me a couple of times, like, Dad, I don't know if I want to do a regional next year. Okay, well, it's okay. We'll do some local races, you know, like whatever progresses him and he feels good about, you know, I'm all for it.
Yeah, whatever it takes. I mean, you know, and sometimes you just gotta keep things fresh, you know, and improvise, have a good time. That's what it's all about. Like today we were rained out, so we did a little flat track and then a biker rally, and then right on the golf course. So,
so I gotta ask you, man, any good Moto Dad stories?
Man,
let me give you one.
Okay,
let you think for a second. This is at the regional, and we're on the gate for the PW50 Moto, and there is a dad. Now I didn't see him do it, but I saw him get in trouble. There is a dad that allegedly had a mallet on the gate, and he was packing his gate with the mallet.
Okay.
What's the rule? AMA race, no tools.
Right.
Okay, but I didn't see that happen. But what I saw was this guy getting yelled at by the official saying, "You're gone. You're out. You are out." And I'm like, and I see him with the hammer, and I'm like, well, I know what happened.
Yeah.
And he is just like, I didn't know. By the way, I've seen this guy at plenty of amateur nationals. This dude knew. Like, it was a perfect Moto Dad moment. And I felt bad because I think his kid was in the running. Like, I think his kid, they made him go all the way to the back of the line for his gate pit.
Oh,
and he was like sixth gate pit.
Yeah.
Man, I felt bad for the kid, but at the same time, it's like, dude, what are you doing up here with a hammer? What are you doing? What? Like,
I'm here.
Like, come on, man. Like, you know this, you know? Like, that's my Moto Dad story right now. It's like, I felt really bad for the kid, but at the same time in my head, I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah. Man, I don't have really anything super stand out at the moment for Barrett, or kind of anything wild that I've seen at the races thus far, but kind of one from my era of being that new rider on that YZ80 at a local race and crashing pretty good in a corner. And it was that first time of having something.
All right, we had a brief interruption there. We had a camera die on us, but we're back.
Between getting arrested and
I know. Oh man, it's been a night. So okay, give me the Moto Dad story.
So so as a 11-year-old kid, local race, and just kind of seeing, you know, I was used to my dad from football and baseball, but kind of when we hit that, my dad was an intense guy, but when we hit that moto time, Pop stepped it up a notch. And when I realized that was at a local race and in practice, very early on, I crashed pretty good in a corner, and I sprained or tweaked my ankle. Legit deal, like very much in pain. That was the first time I experienced that pain, you know.
Oh man, that hurts too.
Of just, it was legit. It was the first time, you know, that I had experienced that, and I'm laying there hemming and hawing and kind of doing my thing, and my dad just comes over to me and just very matter-of-factly was like, "Hey, hospital or up? Pick one."
Yeah.
Like, we going to the hospital or are we getting up? And I was like, well, I guess we'll get up.
I've said that to my kid.
So, yeah, years later, I get to, so my dad, long story short, ends up breaking his ribs on a sand track 5 or 6 years ago.
Got to come back.
My dad was laying there, and so I ride up next to him. He's laying on the side. I was like, "Hey, Pops, hospital or up?" He said, through just this faint breath, "Up." I'm getting up. He gets
Man,
up, man.
you got to give it back to
come
him.
full circle.
That's
man.
amazing.
Yeah. He got up. Yeah.
So, man, we've done it. We've drank some
Yeah.
beer. We've talked about Moto Dad stuff.
Man,
Is there anything, you've listened to the podcast. Thank you for listening. Is there anything that you've heard us talk about, anything that you've, really has kind of sparked a thought in you that we didn't get to talk about?
Man, we've pretty well covered it, and you've had a lot of really good guests on, and 100%. I don't belong really in that category, but I guess it's cool that you stopped in on the way from Maine to
Hey man,
freaking California.
You gave us an awesome day. We
Yeah.
showed up halfway through the day, and you gave us 2 days worth of fun. So
Yeah, for sure. We got more coming tomorrow. Going to go ride a local track and go see a pretty legit track with some good dirt, good elevation, and see the boys just get out there and rip.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I just love dirt bikes. I'm like I told you today, we were running around a golf course getting video of the kids. I'm like, man, I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I'm in my element. My boy's riding with a kid, and it's crazy how, he just met Barrett, and they already just kind of hit it off, and
Yeah.
they were good riding buddies. They rode great together. They hung out together all day. They just it was really cool, man.
Yeah, man. Did you bring your gear? We can take turns on the 450
Man,
tomorrow.
I ain't riding that thing. I ain't riding for a while.
There you go.
Well, dude, thank you so much, Brandon.
Yeah, man.
Guys, we got many more fun episodes to come. We're doing this tour right now across the country. We got a lot of cool interviews lined up. This is just one of many. Thank you for listening. Again, we don't really have sponsors. Moto, if you want to shoot Moto a follow, we're trying to do really cool things with them. Back up in New England with sponsoring some New England riders and doing schools up there and stuff. Moto and GoPro, thank you guys for the support, helping us get out here and do this. We don't quite know what this is going to be yet, but come July, hopefully we have something really cool for everybody, some really cool content. Thank you. Thank you for listening.